Well, hello, Jeff.
Well, hello, Soraya. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. You?
I'm a little tired. I've been working in my garden. We have a drainage issue, so I've been digging ditches, and yeah, we took a shower and I'm ready to podcast.
Look at you, so fresh and so clean.
I am clean. Yes.
All right, Jeff. So, who are we talking with today?
We're gonna talk to Steven Roback. I mentioned on the end of our call with Aaron, Aaron Shear, that while digging through some old CD boxes, I came across my old Viva Saturn record, "Ships of Heaven," that we talked to Steven a little bit about when we had him on last year, but we didn't have the music to listen to, and I had forgotten that I even had a copy until I started playing again, and all the songs started coming back. So I have a lot of questions about this album.
Well, I have a big old question for you, and that is, how in the world do you have a copy of this? Because supposedly this was never released.
Yeah, I have no clue. I have no clue where I got it. I have some credits that I had written down that are in my own handwriting, but I certainly wouldn't know those. So I don't know where the CD came from, where the notes came from, but I want to know more about this. The music on here is really good. So
it's excellent, and it wasn't released before, and I'm hoping that Steven takes another look at this album and thinks about maybe shopping it around, because songs are real good.
Yes.
So I don't know, Jeff. Let's start it.
Yeah, let's give him a call.
Awesome. Hi, this is Soraya.
And this is Jeff.
Our podcast is called Paisley Stage Raspberry and Rhyme.
A podcast where the two of us play music that we like and share anecdotes and background about the tunes.
We hope you'll join our conversation. And without further ado, a groovear.
Let's get groovy. All right, so we just got a message that he's waiting for us, so let's give Steven a call.
Hello.
Hello, Steven Roback. This is Jeff and Soraya. How are you doing today?
Hey guys, I'm doing okay. How you guys doing?
We're doing all right as well. You holding up okay with stay-at-home orders and wearing your mask and social distancing and all that?
Yeah, I haven't been out of the house in about 3 months, but I think I'm tolerating about as well as anybody.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough, I gotta say. I'm missing going out to concerts and going to record stores and going out to eat and visiting family, all that.
Yeah, I have a mild case of store craziness, but
I'm with you there. Yeah, I'm with you there. Soraya and I were even talking about making a little road trip to do a Rain Parade show that was possibly going to happen earlier than in the year, but turns out that the world had other plans for us.
Oh, yeah.
We all needed a rest, apparently. So
it seems, yes. So the world does have a way of making its own plans.
Exactly. Well, Steven, I thank you so much for taking our call. We were just talking about the fact that I was recently going through some old boxes of CDs that I hadn't listened to probably since, I'm trying to figure out, because we bought this house in 2008, so it's been at least 12 years, and I think I had them boxed up 2 or 3 years prior to that, but since we are at home and I have a little bit of time, I've been trying to finally get through some stuff that I've been putting off, obviously, for years. And one of the CDs that I came across was Ships of Heaven. And we had talked to you a little bit about that last year as being an unreleased album. And we have so many questions about this.
Yeah, if I can remember well enough to answer a few.
Yeah. So if memory serves, the record was recorded. Soraya, did you say that you read that it was delivered to
Restless in '98?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was recorded mostly in San Francisco in 97, maybe 96, 97, and delivered after being mixed in 98. So yeah, that's kind of the chronology of it.
And then, so the label passed on it, it sounds like.
Well, yeah, they passed on releasing it. I had like a modest contract with them, and followed through on recording and delivered it, and then they kind of just balked on releasing it and decided, that it was, they didn't want to follow through with promoting the band, so it kind of ended up in limbo. And I already delivered the master, so they kind of, I think they offered me to buy them back, but at that time it was like, well, I kind of didn't have the money to buy back the record.
Yeah.
So we kind of just let it rest.
Okay.
No pun intended. With Restless.
Yeah.
So it kind of just fell through the cracks, and at the time it was like, okay, well, I'm moving on to other stuff anyway. It was kind of a transitional period anyway. It was definitely going to be the last Viva Saturn project, or official album.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, so you had already released the EP Viva Saturn, self-titled, in '89, and then Sound Mine in '92, Bright Side in '95. So this was going to be, I guess, the fourth release or third full-length release, and this was going to be it, huh? This was the end of that project?
Yeah, I was already, I don't know if I thought that consciously at the time, I might have continued doing it depending on, what the response was to the record. But what kind of happened is I was already kind of doing more solo acoustic stuff again.
Okay.
Viva Saturn was a little bit hard to maintain. We weren't exactly the most prolific band in history. Because John lived at the time. John lived in LA. We were kind of split between two cities. John and Billy Blaze, the drummer, and Gary Eden, who did some bass playing for us. So it required a lot of commuting, and I was up in San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it was just kind of a natural progression of it, and I started recording a lot of acoustic stuff in my flat in San Francisco, some of which ended up on that record.
Yeah, there's some of those that, it definitely sound like they're almost solo performances. You mentioned a couple of the names. I have no clue where I got a copy of this from. I honestly don't know. I thought it could have been like maybe a Napster thing or something, but I have handwritten credits that look to be in my handwriting, and it's got a lineup, and I wrote down, I don't know where I got this information from, but that the band consisted of yourself on electric guitar, acoustic guitar, bass guitar, vocals, piano, and organ. I know I wouldn't make that up, so I got that from somewhere. And then Matt Piucci, electric guitar, background vocals, John Thoman, electric guitar, Gary Eaton, bass guitar, Billy Blaze, drums, I wrote down. And then additionally, Hannah Marcus, Erica Magre, and Missy on backing vocals.
Yeah.
So,
I think you got it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know where I got that information, but we wanted to talk a little bit about that lineup. Of course, Matt and John are also bandmates from Rain Parade, but Gary Eaton, is he the same Gary Eaton that played with Continental Drifters and I think Steve Wynn a little bit, among other things?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I don't know all the projects that he's worked on, but I know he's played with a lot of people.
Okay.
He's a really, really talented guy, really talented musician, and it was really nice to have his musical input in some of the later Viva Saturn stuff.
Very cool. And then Billy Blaze, I think, did a lot of work with Chris Kakovez, among other people. If I'm thinking of the same person.
Yeah, he was a drummer.
Okay, perfect.
For Junkyard Love.
Yes, exactly.
Record.
Yeah. Cool. And then, So the copy I have, I don't know if there ever was like a final sequence for the record ever figured out. I imagine so if it was delivered to the label.
Well, I think so. So I think what happened, there was a sequence. I sent them the final mixes, but it wasn't a final. It needed to be mastered, and the song order could, probably might have been slightly different than what I sent them. But what happened is, because it never got released at some point, we kind of decided, maybe we'll just release it ourselves since nobody else wants to. And I think I did like a limited edition of maybe 100 or something, which I kind of pressed up myself.
Oh.
And I was wondering, did you get one with an album cover? Because we actually made, an actual. It was kind of cartoonish, but we made an album cover for it. So a few people actually bought the bootleg and have an official album CD cover with all the credits. So I was wondering if you had that version or if you just had gotten it from another source.
Yeah, I think I got it from another source, because the picture that I have is a picture of half of your face and with a gate or something next to a gate. So I don't have that official cover. But Soraya found an image online that it's with a lavender picture and a picture of the sun and maybe a planet or something.
Yeah, that was the cover.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
For our bootleg version of it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I did not have that bootleg version. No. So I think I probably got a bootleg of the bootleg somehow. Somehow.
It sounds like it. Yeah. I think I burned that illustration. It was from like a book on alchemy or something. Had some interesting, really old, like antique-ish drawings of the solar system.
Yeah, it looks really cool. Yeah. The image that Soraya found.
Yeah, it would have been nice to have it actually released.
Yeah. So that leads us to our question. Our biggest question: is there any possibility that this would still get an official release?
I don't know, actually. I mean, I guess it's always possible. I think it's more likely at some point to end up as part of a larger kind of compilation of our work from that period.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, because I think Viva Saturn was around from 89 till 98, and I was kind of thinking that's kind of has a nice roundish number to it. Maybe there should be like a compilation, like 89 Viva Saturn 89 to 98.
Right. Yeah, we talked about that before. That's perfect. I love that.
I think I mentioned it.
Yeah. So I hope that happens. This album is really, really good. Soraya and I were talking about that earlier. Some of these songs are fantastic. And I think we talked a little bit with you last time about the fact that Viva Saturn was born from the fact that you are a songwriter. In fact, we just talked to Matt Piucci a couple weeks ago. We're talking to him about David, and he had mentioned that your brother had invited you into the band. And then what was the quote that Matt said? That he
said something like, how would he have realized that his brother would surpass him was a really good, strong songwriter, right? It was something like that, like he surpassed him.
Yeah, he said, how would we know that Steven would be the best Rain Parade songwriter?
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Very generous. That's very generous of Matt.
Yeah, so...
I think, but it was three very strong songwriters.
Right,
and,
right.
I think we complemented each other very well, and that's why it worked out so well. Because we all brought something that kind of a unique piece of the puzzle in our individual contributions, that it kind of just fit together really, really nicely.
Jeff and I will absolutely agree with you on that. And one of the things I think that we'd like to add is, as we started listening to this album, and for me, it's curious that the band itself released its own bootleg. I absolutely love that part of the history. The lyrics on these songs are so strong. And I was telling Jeff that as I was listening, I kept writing notes, and I kept going back to this one note that came right at the beginning, and it's you as a lead vocal. No one can hide from you on this album. These songs emphasize you so well, and I have to agree with Jeff that there are some of these songs that just feel like a solo, a real solo highlight. And so lyrically, this is a strong album, and then in each performance, we get something that just builds and builds and builds. It's really this is such good work, and it's curious to me that it just at the time it just didn't get released.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate your very complimentary statement on that. Yeah, I do feel like the album has some of my favorite things that I've done, and some of the lyrics are among my favorite that I've come up with, and of course, once again, major contributions by Matt Pucci and John Thoman. But yeah, it was put it this way, it was a very creative period. That couple of years, and where I was kind of just working in my house and had some time to write tunes, and yeah, and then some of the recordings came out better than I expected. And like recording vocals can be really difficult. And the key to it really is, I think, making sure that the song itself is written written for your voice in the right key. And I think a few of these songs kind of hit that right, the sort of right tone. So yeah, like Angel Sister, I think came out pretty nicely.
So that's the first track that I have listed on or in sequence, Angel Sister. We wanted to ask you, Steven, is it okay if we walk through all of the songs and get some quick feedback on some of them?
Sure.
And
sure.
Just to spark some memories, I thought I'd play like a few seconds of each song, just like a little sample.
Okay.
Okay.
Refresh my memory.
Yeah, and ours as well too. So, and Angel Sister is the first one. So let's listen to a few seconds of Angel Sister. I hope that really was the lead-off track, because that just jumps off as a very, very strong start to the record. Is that what you intended to be the starting track?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that was probably my favorite song on the record, and yeah, that was actually kind of a cool production. Actually, the whole thing. We recorded that mostly at a studio called Brilliant Studios, which I might have mentioned in our last talk, in San Francisco. It's not there anymore, but it was a really nice old brick studio that was built out of an old brick foundry. So it had really high ceilings and really cool, sound, sort of like acoustics. So we recorded that there, except for the background vocals, which the sort of angelic choir.
Yes.
Which I recorded at my home studio, and I got my ex-wife and some other, Hannah Marcus, who's a really talented musician who I worked with at the time, and a few other people to to be the angelic choir for Angel Sister.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Appropriately stated.
Yes.
It's this beautiful harmony, and but throughout the whole song, what a great way to start. Yeah,
it has that kind of punchiness. And yeah, actually, it was kind of funny. We ended up having to mix together probably like 30 or 35 tracks, which is just, it's kind of absurd for us, but so we actually I had to bring my computer from home, which had all the angelic vocals on it, to mix it with the band tracks on the 24-track analog tape. So it was kind of like you had to sync everything up, and
oh wow,
it was kind of insane.
Yeah.
But,
even more impressive.
It sounds challenging.
Yeah, it could have been. We could have done a documentary just on that that particular mix, feature-length documentary.
That's hilarious.
The making of Angel Sister.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool.
But the song also. One thing I wanted to say about the song is it's kind of about. It really is about. I don't know if you get it from the title, but it's about Los Angeles, which seems to be a common theme in Rain Parade songs. Or our history, but I think it popped into my head when I was driving into LA one time, and so it's about Los Angeles and maybe someone I loved while I was living there. Mm-hmm. But we used to go up in the hills there, in the Santa Monica Mountains, and just look down on the city, and the lights are just absolutely hypnotizing.
Yeah.
Which I know you guys have seen. The sort of endless pulsating lights of LA. We used to go up there and tell stories about what we imagined people were doing down below.
Oh, that sounds like fun. Yeah.
Yeah. How many people were doing something or other. Yeah. Anyway, just an incredibly hypnotic vision to meditate on. So it was. Just the view of Los Angeles has been an endless inspiration. So that's really what that song is sort of inspired by.
Oh, I did not pick up on that. Very, very cool. So then the next song, the second song, starts off with the film intro, at least the version that I have, and it's the title track, Ships of Heaven. Do you remember what the film intro is from?
Yeah. We sampled a few seconds from the original Snow White cartoon, the Disney cartoon from the 30s.
Oh wow!
And it's the Snow White singing. I'm waiting for the one I love to find me.
Oh.
And then, we actually used that song actually has. Some interesting sound effects that we found. I think we used these different horror movie sound effects. So there's howling wolves in there, and some windstorm, and various other horror movie sound effects.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Let's listen to a few seconds of it and then find out a little bit more about it. So take it away, Snow White.
Okay.
change it. You don't need them where you
So good. I really, really like that piece a lot. So,
thanks.
What was the significance of adding in the horror movie samples?
Well, that what happened is I actually recorded a demo of that a few years before that when I was living in Palms, and actually Rainbow was still active at that time. And I think I mentioned it last time we spoke that there were a bunch of kind of proto Saturn songs, type songs. It's kind of electric swirling guitar on Strat to a Vibrolux, kind of like Brightside or Remember I'm Dead, if you remember those songs. Right. So it was one of those kind of foundational songs for Viva Saturn. But that track, the demo, I recorded in my house, and I had a friend from Sweden who was visiting me, and he was kind of out at record shops collecting, picking up records, and he found this really cool old horror movie sound effects record. So just for kicks, we tried, he was there when I was doing the original demo. We kind of tried to mix in some of the sound effects, and it sounded really pretty cool. And so when later I redid the song with Matt, we had to get those sound effects because it was like the song wasn't the song because it just kind of, made everything cohesive. And so I had to track down my friend in Sweden and insist that he send me the original album that he had bought in LA. So we did eventually get it. And we tried to kind of slavishly imitate the original demo.
Okay.
So, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's
kind of how it happened.
It's such a great song. It's a really good song. When you sing the line, "Don't remember when," it kind of reminds me a little bit of Fertile Crescent, the melody of the song. Only on that one little line there.
Yeah.
But there's so much signature Steven Roback in this one song that it just sounds to me, the song sounds like you.
Yeah. It's like I said, I think it's part of that formational or foundational sound that I was kind of playing around with and trying to develop that had that kind of swirling electric, picked electric guitar, finger picking through a Vibrolux with some heavy effects on it. That seemed to work well with my voice, because I don't have the, like Matt has this incredible ability to project his voice. My voice just is a little bit less strong, and I kind of needed to find a way to, like, an environment that it would sound good in. So I worked on that for a long time and trying to find the right, how to create the right sort of context for my voice.
Wow.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense to me, although I wouldn't think that myself, but I wouldn't come up with that kind of strategy, but that totally makes sense.
Put it this way, it's one area that I was exploring that I really liked, and that's why it kind of developed. There's several songs that have similar kind of environment, musical environment. The song itself is actually it's kind of about this sort of opiated experience. I might have had for the first time, it has for some reason, I think I had like a dental surgery or something. Oh. So I had some exposure to the opiate feeling. But it was also the song itself is really about transcending the drugs, kind of looking for that illusory spiritual connection, and something everybody wants, to be transported to that perfect place, where everything's peace and harmony. But it's pretty hard to find.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It seems that dialogue is going on throughout a number of these songs of, a search for that space where there's some sort of peace and grounding, and then it's kind of in that dialogue. There are other songs that say, "Hey, to get there, we got to get rid of a lot of things. We got to change a lot of things." And I'm thinking specifically of the song "Change Everything," and even "Whirlwind" kind of speaks to me like that. But before I get ahead of myself, let's talk about track 3.
All right, so track 3 is "Bury the Axe," and I love how it starts off with these marching drums, and I have a question about that, but let's listen to it if that's okay, Steven.
Sure, yeah.
That guitar work is so good on that song.
Oh my god, it's insane.
Yeah, there's some great work on that by, of course, Matt Pucci and John Thumb, especially John. But I think the soaring guitar is Matt, and kind of the riff, the main hook is John.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that sort of military style intro is cool. The song is a little bit of a mess sonically. That's one that definitely needed some additional attention. Kind of needs to be mastered. And in a perfect world, I'd like to even remix it, because it's got some over the top guitar, raw guitars happening that might benefit from a little reining in. But overall, it came out pretty nicely.
Very cool. There, I wrote down a couple of the lyrics, and I was interested about the content of the song. And the lyrics that I wrote down is "There's no way back, bury the axe," the chorus, and then "dig a shallow grave so you can find me." And then with that and the militaristic drums, I'm really interested in what the song is about and what the intention was behind it.
Yeah, well, I think it was just kind of about realizing this sort of stupidity and futility of holding grudges.
Okay, yeah.
And being angry, holding on to anger, and just wanting to put a rest to it, to those feelings, to relationships that are, where you are holding on to negative feelings, and just making peace. Yeah, like Soraya says, it is kind of about, there's a theme to this record about wanting to kind of make peace and coming to terms, and it maybe might kind of reflect the moment, that phase, kind of this transition from, there was Rain Parade, and then there was Viva Saturn, and that was kind of like I was ready to move into the next thing, and there were probably some relationships and various with various people and various entities that I was just ready to lay to rest. And so I mean, some of the lyrics are, say, strong imagery, like dig a shallow grave, where you can find, was it, you can't find me, but you can hide me, but you can find me.
Yeah.
You can hide me, but you can find me. Yeah. And it does express some anger too, and it's kind of a contradiction, but it was definitely about wanting to transcend the petty stuff.
No, that is perfect. I mean, in talking about a song about burying the axe, you want to talk about that there is anger, right? That that's something that needs to happen. My wife Chris and I had this conversation last night. We were talking about some friends of ours that are dealing with a situation with anger, and we were talking about how it hurts them to hold on to all that anger, and the other person doesn't even care, to be honest. And that person that has all the anger is the one that's hurting themselves. I mean, I don't know how a person goes about letting go, but it hurts the person that's holding on to it, that is not bearing the axe, right? So.
That's really true. I mean, I think you see that in abusive relationships where, you know, someone who's the victim of abuse is hurting, but to get where, as the abuser probably doesn't care, you know, or maybe even enjoys, you know, being abusive, but it's kind of up to the object of the abuse to get that out of their life. And I think some of the imagery kind of does touch on some of those kind of feelings of, you know, being in the kind of relationship you're talking about, kind of where people's behavior or anger or whatever malicious behavior towards you can be really hurtful, you know. So the song kind of expresses some of that.
It's a very powerful song. I mean, and right off the bat with the militaristic marching drums, I mean, that just sets the tone for what you're about to address. So.
Yeah, it's kind of like a march to a let's say to an execution, but it's kind of has a kind of military vibe to it. Yeah.
Very cool. So let's go on to the next song, and Soraya had already hinted at it, and this one is a rocker, I'll say that.
Oh my gosh.
So let's play a little bit of Change Everything.
Cool.
Let's just discuss these two lines.
Okay.
Not going to waste another minute of my time to try and fix the disease.
Yes.
And then a little later on, I don't need you anymore. This song, and when I think about that sequence, you know, that first we have Angel's sister kind of setting this tone of, you know, where's my role in this world and what are people doing, and, you know, we're all kind of connected but separate. Then Ships of Heaven, kind of looking for that transcendental place. Then Bury the Axe, kind of setting the tone of shedding, right? Shedding the past. And then we get to Change Everything, and it's like, there's a moment to take a breath. And you just say, you know what? Don't need it. I'm not going to waste my time, not going to waste my energy, but I'm going to go find whatever I need to do, change everything. Boom. There's nothing I don't love about this.
I know.
The arrangement, everything. These guitars are ridiculous, and the lyrics are so, so good. Oh. Enough about it.
Does that sound about what you had in mind? You were talking about a transition in your life, and it sounds like this song definitely sounds like it's a transitional part of your life.
Yeah, I mean, I think Soraya nailed it perfectly. I mean, this is about just, you know, bury the axe is kind of like, let's make peace and, you know, put it all behind us. We can still be friends, maybe, you know, even though you've tortured me. But change everything is kind of like, okay, enough, you're kicked out of my life. Or, you know, it's like, or not necessarily a person, but it's like rejecting manipulation, you know, whether it's like advertising or selling you stuff you don't need, or irrational politics, conspiracy theories, just craziness, people, things, entities trying to manipulate you. Just
right.
being fed up with all that and finally saying, enough, and just rejecting it outright. That's kind of that's what I think Soraya put it better than I did, but that's kind of what the vibe is, yeah. And again, John and Matt totally nailed the guitar on that, and that's just them at their wildest, rockingest best,
Yeah. It sounded like they took that message and translated that into guitar and just brought the heat.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been so lucky to be able to work with such incredible musicians, foremost Matt and John, and a lot of others too. But, as a songwriter, to have at your disposal, it's two of the best guitar players that maybe ever,
Yeah.
Among two of the best guitar players in history, it's like just unbelievable resource, and I've just been so lucky. And a lot of the music I've worked on, is totally collaborative on every level with Matt and John too.
Hold on one sec.
That's never happened before, but there's a first for everything.
It's Matt, and he said thank you. No, just kidding.
Yeah, really.
She's listening.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, those guys, the whole Rain Parade band, come on. You guys are, it's the cream of the crop. But to have those guys on guitar, I totally hear what you're saying. And on this particular song, yeah, the guitars
it'll take your breath away, because it just shows this exceptional quality. We've been seeing it, but in this song, it's like everything magnified times 10. At least for me, as a simple listener, it just seems that way. And so this song just becomes very big, and takes you in.
Yeah, it's amazing how both Matt and John have this ability to just pull out guitar melodies. They're really, really, really good at finding the sort of the motif in a song. Sometimes I'll point it out to them when we're working together, and just running with it and building it into like an amazing guitar part that is full of its own. It's like almost symphonic, melodic quality. That they're able to take an idea and do multiple variations on it. When I say symphonic, I mean kind of the way symphony takes a motif and builds out several kind of related variations that all kind of connect back to this one idea. And they're both outstanding at doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense what I just said.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense.
Absolutely.
And I'm thinking about Rain Parade songs and how that actually happens quite frequently. Those guys are really good at that.
Yeah.
Okay, so Thursday's Bright is the next song. Let's give that one a listen.
Okay.
Thursday's bright, the White House glows. My friends are gone and I'm on my own, thinking like a drum. The day creeps through the falling.
I want to play these songs all the way through.
Right? So tempting.
So I love how you have the acoustic guitar playing, and I think it sounds like a mellotron or a mellotron kind of sound, maybe. and then that distorted feedbacky guitar just layered underneath. It's so beautiful. I love the arrangement of this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks. I think you actually did identify most of the instruments correctly. I'm not sure it's a mellotron, but it might be a backwards guitar in there. I think kind of sounds like an organ. But yeah. Actually, this is one of my. I think this actually is my favorite song on this whole collection.
Wow.
Yeah, because I remember when the day this was born. It was about being alone on Thanksgiving, which is always Thursday, and wrestling with some demons. I remember it was Thanksgiving weekend, and it was a really beautiful day, and it was late fall, and there were cold winds and leaves were blowing, so it had that late fall kind of feeling. And I was living in San Francisco on this narrow street called Elizabeth Street, where I did a lot of this recording, and which later became known as Elizabeth Street Studios. Across the street, there was this beautiful, incredibly bright white house that in the morning sun would just glow.
Wow. So
part of the visual element of the lyrics was that vision. But I think for some reason I ended up there alone. Like my wife had went to visit her parents, and everybody was out of town. So I just had a lot of time to kind of think, and it's kind of what about those moments of loneliness when maybe you want to give it all up, but then you realize maybe the problem is with you, and you're lucky to have what you have, and you kind of want to try to keep it no matter what. But it's kind of going through this sort of like realizing the problem is really coming from you, and the world is actually a pretty beautiful place. It can be.
Wow, that's kind of heavy.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that it is kind of heavy. Maybe sorry, if it's too heavy.
No.
I remember the feeling. It was actually a really great day. It's like when the weather's just like kind of perfect. This not too hot, not too cold. The wind, the leaves. It's kind of like a magical feeling. And I think that the song kind of captured that feeling. So that's I think why I like it so much.
It totally feels like an autumn song now that you say that, which is my favorite part of the year is the fall. And it totally does have that feel to it. I love the way that you say that, how you phrase it as the day that the song was born. It's such a beautiful phrasing and talking about a piece of music. I love that. Yeah, I love that.
I think I might have had a little bit too much coffee that day too.
It's really interesting about being alone. I always think, like, if my wife goes away on a trip, I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this, it's going to be cool, I'm going to catch up on my reading. And I kind of get a little bit excited that I have alone time. And then about 25 minutes into her being gone, I'm like, I wish she was back.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely amplified that day, too, because of the holiday, Thanksgiving.
Yeah. It's interesting too because I think at a time like this, the one that we're living in, these are unprecedented times, but I think a lot of people are spending that kind of time, or at least giving into those thoughts of introspection, and that's what I thought Thursday's Bright. And now that I hear you talk about it, it makes absolute sense. It seems like this kind of open voiced meditation on just kind of the here and now. And now it's starting to connect the pieces for me. But And songs like this at this time really resonate.
Yeah, it is kind of, it is, I think you put it well, it's kind of like an open sort of meditation on appreciating, on the things that we have that are really precious, and how it does seem really, really, since we have so much time to kind of sit around and, not go out and distract ourselves, it does seem to kind of be sort of in sync with maybe people's states of mind these days.
It's absolutely relevant today, for sure.
And then we move into the next song, which I just have to say before you even play one note. One of the things that I remarked about it, now, Steven, as you kind of helped us understand the idea behind this album and some of these songs, Out of Reach is just this it seems stripped down, simple, and absolutely beautiful. And I just have to say that before we start.
Thank you.
With that being said,
1, 2, 3, 4. I got this feeling moving up my spine. I'm too sad to shake and too cold to cry. Completely out of reach. Something's taken me way beyond my means. Out there, out there.
it's such a beautiful melody, this one.
Thank you. What strikes me about it is, as Soraya said, it's totally stripped down. I think this album does have this contrast of like really heavy, a few songs that are really major production numbers with a lot of stuff going on, and these other kind of just very raw, stripped down, acoustic-y songs. And I think that's kind of what I was getting. I was wanting to do more of. One thing, they're a lot easier to record, but it's kind of more direct. This one's kind of has a slightly dark story behind it. I'm not sure I should even tell it, but it's kind of about being completely turned upside down by unexpected events, which we've all experienced. In this case, it was the loss of a good friend. But it's kind of about, I was thinking about it actually. Remember the term synesthesia that came up? One of our discussions.
Yes.
Somebody's discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is kind of about emotional synesthesia.
Okay.
That occurs after a trauma. So like the line, too scared to shake and too cold to cry. Right. It's like after you experience something that is really difficult, your mind and emotions take a long time. Can take a time to kind of get rewired for the new reality. And I think this song, some of the lyrics, I'm not even sure where they came from. It's almost like I was just telling what I was feeling, And what I realized, that listening back to it now, is it has this kind of weird transposition of different types of feelings that you wouldn't normally connect. Like you wouldn't connect. I was scared to shake, too scared to cry. I don't know, you would shake if you're cold, and you would cry maybe if you're scared. But here it's like scared and shaking,
mm-hmm.
and cold and crying, or it's like a lyrical license trying to express the confusion of those feelings, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And actually, an interesting side note to this is that later on, my friend's sister actually made a film, like an independent movie, about searching for her brother, and she used this track as the title track for the song for the movie.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah.
What was the name of the film?
Out of Reach.
Oh, okay.
She used it as the title of the movie and as the title track for the movie.
Oh, got it. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I'm not sure whatever happened to it. I don't think she got it into like a major production, but it's out there somewhere.
Ooh, wonder if we could find that.
I think we got to start searching.
Who is the filmmaker?
Her name's Anna Baum.
Okay.
I'll drop her a line and see if it's available. I'm not sure that she actually, where she's at with it.
Got it.
Yeah, I'll look into it.
That's powerful.
So next up is Nothing Like Out of Reach. So going from the nice, quiet, introspective, this one has an onslaught of guitars.
Yeah.
And drums.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. Soraya and I, we were talking about the drums on this one earlier. Ooh. So up next, in my mind, this would have been a vinyl EP or a vinyl album, and this would be the first song on side 2. But alas, that never happened. But anyways, up next is Whirlwind. That one is so good. That's one of my favorites. It's such a good song. And talk about those guitars just coming in and feedback and just noise. It's such a good one.
Yeah. Well, asking Matt and John to come up with the Whirlwind wasn't too hard.
Yeah.
Matt was heavily involved in that one. Although actually the trivia, I actually am the one who played lead guitar on that. So there was actually some role reversal. Yeah, Matt came up with he plays guitar, but he also came up with that kind of pulsating. I think it was actually a patch or a sample that we came up with, and we just played with it until it kind of ended up sounding like a Dopplering whirlwindish effect.
Yeah, that's a great sound.
Yeah, and there's some good background vocals on that too. Yeah.
So who was doing the backing vocals on that?
I think it was mostly Matt.
Okay.
Background vocals. Yeah.
And then Soraya, you noted that the drums really stood out to you on this one.
The drums were just, and again, thinking about those pulsating guitars and these really ethereal vocals, and then underneath that are these drums, and it's just pulsating drums that that jumped out at me, and every time I listened to it, it's like I couldn't ignore it. So it was just this, all of the sound coming at me at once. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of like a tornado's coming your way. Yeah, yeah.
This would be a good live song for sure.
Yeah.
And can we talk about how dynamic this album is? Like when you go from some of these quieter tracks to something like this, that I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff happening with emotions, with sounds. There's a lot going on in this record. I love that about this record.
Yeah, I guess there's just more going on than I realized. It's actually quite interesting to listen to it now. You put something in a vault for a while, and you come back to it, it has kind of a completely, you start to see things that you didn't even know were there before.
May I remind you, it's been a couple decades.
Just want to emphasize that. It's been a while.
But Jeff, and I want you to think about this sequence here. So it goes whirlwind, come around, which I will talk about.
Yes.
And then quality time, and then Valentine's Day. Like it's this sequence coming up. There's a lot going on here. Mm-hmm. There's a lot going on here. So, shall we hear it come around?
1, 2, 3, 4. Come around every once in a while, like the sun in my shadow life. Look down 'cause I don't understand what it means to be your fan. All I want is to see you smile, happy and complete, mean the world to me. Mean the world to me.
Steven, this one seems really personal to me. There was a couple lines that I wrote down. Of course, you mean the world to me on that part. And then you're my best friend is another line. I would imagine, coming from you, that it is autobiographical or true to your feelings at the time.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say yes, definitely. And pretty much all these tunes in some way, whether that it's obvious on the face of it, are sort of autobiographical. But yeah, this one is just really simple. It's probably one of the fastest realizations of a song that I've experienced. Probably took me a couple hours from actually the conception of the idea to recording and having a finished demo, which it really is. It's just a demo. Although sometimes demos end up being perfectly, good enough,
Yeah.
Yeah. And kind of recorded it, sort of off the top of my head. But yeah, it was about having, let's just say it was about having a crush on someone when you know you shouldn't,
Uh-huh.
And wanting, no matter how much you feel for that person, kind of, understanding their pain and wanting everything to be okay,
That's beautiful. I love that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, then, Soraya, you mentioned quality time.
Oh man, I got a lot of thoughts on this one, but I want to hear it. That's how good it is. I want to hear it.
All right. With the standout lines, we need quality time and life is short. Here is quality time. So with these lyrics, you could have written this last week or this month.
Literally.
Yeah.
Look at who he's telling us to listen to. Listen to the president. Listen to your undertaker. And at the end, listen to the present tense. I hope I got that right.
Yeah, you did. Exactly.
But I love that sequence. And just, Jeff, so they reel us in. I wrote down, and please remember, I'm not a musician. I'm only a fan. And I just wrote down, these guitars in space. That's what it felt like to me. But listen to the lyrics. Life is short. Listen to your undertaker. We need quality time. We got all of the time in the world to say goodbye. Life is short. Life is short. We need quality. I mean, lyrically, this song is really charged. And now that I look at it in this sequence and knowing a little bit about the history, this is really an interesting song, and it's a powerful one to lead into the last 4 tracks. What was this kind of a similar inspiration? Just the moment that you're living through and the transformation kind of happening in front of you?
Yeah, I mean, I think you totally nailed the important, whatever's important about the song. I think you nailed it. It's really about the condition we all live in. The sort of, we're kind of all informed by the unfortunate reality of our demise, and you just have to find a way to live and make it good while you can. And yes, we get garbage from people,
yes.
Yes. But you need to kind of remember, listen to your undertaker. That I like that line, and listen to the present tense. Yeah, because everything's happening is only really now, and try to make it as good as you can.
Such a great message.
Excellent.
Yeah, thanks. I think song could use a little remixing. It's a little bit raw.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. I listening to it now. I do like the some of the thoughts and themes that are touched on. It actually works nicely in this kind of raw context, because it's not like a serious song. It's just, but it has this kind of heavy duty theme to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a simple but powerful message. I mean, you just say it perfectly that we need the quality time. So,
yeah.
I think the music reflects the statement. So next up, I think, is another solo piece. I mean, it's a very simple and musically pulled back, beautiful guitar playing, and a message about love. And
Mm-hmm.
the song's called Valentine's Day. So let's give this one a play.
Extended forecast, endless rain. It's been pouring on Valentine's Day. Love just finds its way. For as long as it takes. And there's no future in lonely fear. Cupid's arrow.
Soraya, I figure this one's right up your alley.
I mean, look at those 2 lines. Love just finds its way for as long as it takes. That's a really poignant message. And again, dressed in this song where it's acoustic. And in other words, the message just kind of takes over. I love this song a lot. It's pretty. It's a very pretty and poignant song.
Yeah, thank you. It's actually, I remember the day. I remember the song, and it was literally Valentine's Day, and it was raining. It was pouring outside, and I just thought it was like a really, really gloomy day, and I was kind of, oh, God, this is kind of bizarre, on this day that, it's supposed to be like love and joy, and it's just like an incredible storminess. So the weather was just in such contrast to the basic, idea of Valentine's Day. So it's really just like kind of a musing on love, and
as you're saying that, I'm thinking about with the external, everything going on with like the weather, and I was thinking about that as far as like not just weather being not at its prime, but also the environment that you could be in, whether it's political or whether emotional, and even through those situations that there are opportunities when love finds its way through those difficult situations. And you were mentioning that it was like physically not the most beautiful day on that day, but this beautiful song comes out of that situation.
Yeah. It's kind of about how just like you said, I mean, horrible stuff can be going on. I mean, the song itself was literally written during a pouring rainstorm. Yeah. And I think as a songwriter, sometimes you find your imagery directly in front of you in life, and sometimes I think it's even surprising to me or to the person making up the song that what you're seeing can be interpreted many different ways, or can apply to many different sort of analogous situations, like you were saying. But at the heart of it, it's really just about how love kind of is the most, probably the most important thing.
Absolutely.
I think.
Yep, I agree. It's a beautiful song.
Yeah.
So up next is my personal favorite from the record, and I think there's a little tremolo guitar, whatever that guitar sound in it sounds really cool. When I add tremolo to my guitar, it sounds a little bit like that. And there's a couple really neat lines in this one. To me, this sounds like the most psychedelic on the album, especially in the middle part. Just that break gets crazy and fun and psychedelic and trippy. But this song is Dream Came True.
Never thought I'd be here long enough to care, but hanging on's a dare. In the morning I'm a wreck, but I'm in your debt. 'Cause when I'm lost, you always find me there. My dream came true. My dream came true. My dream came true. Never gonna see the
All right.
future.
I'll cut it off before it gets to the really trippy middle break part. But Steven, is it a love song?
It kind of is, actually. It's an interesting question. I guess you could call it a love song, yeah. By the way, some great guitar in this one by John, and some very cool production. I just saw that middle section Matt and I worked on.
Yeah, that
Some
middle
cool
section.
backwards guitar.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Great.
I remember the song. So this is kind of like my answer to Kurt Cobain's suicide, which I'm sure is surprising to you. So it's kind of a conversation with myself about self-obsession and self-obsessed musicians, and like there's times that we all want to give up, or feel the world owes us something, or it's more than beer and flattery, which is what my brother was famous for saying.
Yeah.
And maybe you have to understand like the musician's mentality, which I'm sure, Jeffrey, you do, and Soraya, you too. It's a lot of hard work, and it can be very lonely at times. Nobody really thinks about that when you're getting into it. You just think of like, oh, God, being a musician is going to be great. But it's hard. It's really difficult to sustain. Life on the road can be hard. There's a lot of temptations. A lot of people don't make it. And there's a lot of deep, maybe even unpleasant, like soul searching to find the right words, for the songs. So because of all that sort of dark side, difficult stuff, sometimes in just life in general, you just want to, self-destruct. But it's like more courageous, to hang on and keep living. And success in music or professionally is not the most important thing. There's other things like love and friends and nature and beauty and, so much. And if you have love and good people, like, that's success in itself. So when Kurt Cobain killed himself, I was like, I understood that maybe he was, in a way, he was depressed and was beyond his control. But I just kind of felt angry because, and I don't think I'm the only one, because, it's not about success, it's about love, it should be about love. It doesn't really matter, whether you succeed in music or, and he's achieved great success, and yet he was so unhappy. So all of that made me just really appreciate that I had even had the opportunity to be a musician, to indulge my creative side, and rather than offing myself because I didn't get everything I wanted, I just felt like I needed to really appreciate that I had the opportunity and that I've been able to make some good music, and that I do have good people in my life. And so it's really about, it's like my dream did come true. I actually set out with a lot of my friends and my brother to do some good music, and that we loved, and it kind of all came true. It's kind of mind blowing if you think about it. Regardless of whatever level of success we had, we were able to create a lot of good music, and somehow at this moment in this time of it, it kind of all ended up in this song.
Wow. That is
if
really...
that makes any sense.
Oh,
absolutely it does. Yeah, I don't think we can add anything to that.
That's beautiful. I love that.
I love the sentiment behind that song.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for giving me a chance to to tell the stories of these songs, and it's been a rough couple months, the last, as you guys know, because we're all going through the other things have been going on. So if I sound a little bit dark and emotional about it, I'm sorry. Hope I'm not bringing everybody down.
No. I mean,
not at all.
I love that. I mean, that whole message. I mean, as we were talking about with Valentine's Day, right? We have these situations that are dark and heavy, and then you have this very optimistic message, and
mm-hmm.
the message is to look at the things that we do have, that that a lot of us take for granted, and it's such a beautiful and timely message.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's kind of essential, for for survival, really, to try to, make the best of what we got. Yeah.
It's a great message.
And appreciate what we got. Yeah.
100%.
So the last song that I have on my version is Needle and the Damage Done. Was the intention to put that on Ships of Heaven? Because we talked earlier about that was included on the Neil Young tribute album, This Note's for You Too. But right. What was the intention to put that on Ships of Heaven also?
I think I just put it on there because it seemed to, the collection of songs seemed to need something even something else, Mm-hmm. I thought, oh, maybe a cover, maybe there's just too much like one-dimensional Steven Roback indulgence. Maybe we'll put a Neil Young song on, just in case you're not suicidally depressed yet, you will be after you listen to this one.
Yeah. It is a heavy one. It is a heavy song, that's for sure. Talking about dealing with some demons, right?
I'm kind of just, I'm kind of just kidding. I mean,
right. Yeah.
I think I took it down there just because I wanted people to hear it because I liked the version.
Yeah,
we like to.
Yeah, I think I mentioned to you before, and I know it's blasphemous, but I prefer this version over Neil's version. But I won't say that out loud because that could be blasphemous to the Neil fans. But your version is so beautiful. Let's listen to a little bit of it, and this will be the last one.
Cellar door. I love you, baby, can I have some more? I hit the city and I lost my band. I watched the needle take another man.
It's beautiful and heart-wrenching at the same time.
It's hauntingly beautiful.
It's hauntingly beautiful. Perfect.
Yeah, it's the organ that was a touch that makes it kind of unique.
Wow. So this album is, like I said, there's so much going on. It's very dynamic. You have the rockers, would change everything, whirlwind, and you have the more introspective songs, and there's a lot going on. I just think it's an amazing record, Steven. I wish that it would have had a proper release. I actually like the sequencing that's on this version that I have, so hopefully there'll be a day when there's a compilation of stuff, and at least some of these songs, if not most of them, will be able to have an official release, because you wrote some masterful pieces here.
Beautiful songs.
Well, thanks, you guys. I hope at some point too that it comes out in some form. I mean, it would be nice to see it released as its own thing, which is kind of meant to be. But at the very least, hopefully it'll come out as part of something else, and it'll retain its sort of own identity within that context.
Yes, I want to applaud.
Yes, I know. Like it needs it.
Thanks.
Right?
Well, yeah. Thanks for listening, you guys. Without you, it means a lot to share the stories of the songs, and thanks for giving me the opportunity. Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. I really, really enjoyed the stories behind some of these, and as I listen to these songs moving forward, it's going to give me an added boost in understanding of what your intentions were as I filter it through my own experiences, which I tend to do with songs. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing, Steven. really, really enjoyed the conversation and your input on all these songs. And again, masterful record.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Sure thing.
And hopefully everything goes well and we get out of this situation soon and we can get back out into the sunlight and and have some more live shows. And if Rain Parade does any shows, we'll be there regardless of where it's at. So we hope.
Or if Steven Roback does any shows, we'll be too.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would be very cool. I look forward to seeing you guys.
All right.
In the near future.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right.
Sure.
Stay healthy and safe.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Just give me a moment.
That's my guy right there.
I'm sorry. Steven Roback that's a dude.
Yeah. I loved hearing some of these stories. You could tell that that through all these experiences that he have, I love the optimism. And it's not like a blind or shallow optimism, obviously, because some difficult, dark moments are addressed. And through that, he still sees the positivity and opportunities for creativity, for love, for good things to come from bad situations. And I think it's a very, very powerful message, and it's a common theme throughout some of these songs.
You know, listening to Steven speak about these songs, speak about his motivations. First of all, I want to have his memory, where he can remember an album that he can remember the day the song was born. That was absolutely the most poetic way to put it. But you know, he really moved me to tears. I mean, I found myself getting emotional listening to him tell these stories. And I think that's why what Matt Pucci said was so on the dot. He is really gifted as a songwriter. I mean, he's gifted as a musician, but really, he's got this way with words, and he just brings you into the story, and he engages you. And I think he was very nice in letting us know that, you know, we found a meaning that resonated with the song, but I really think it's just because he is so good at it.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, some of the imagery is just beautiful. The shallow grave, the white house, the glowing white house.
I mean, and then the use of weather, because that comes up in a lot of these songs. It's a thread that you can kind of follow. And it's an interesting bookend of tracks. I mean, he said the album needed remastering, and with that process, the order could have changed. But even if we think about this as a final order, it's a very interesting bookend with Angel Sister, and then with Needle and Damage Done. Yeah. It's a very interesting story that he's told us in 12 tracks. He's a good guy. And this album, you know, this is what absolutely makes me batty, Jeff. You and I are dealing with a bootleg. A bootleg that he released, okay? A bootleg that he released. So initially when we started talking about this episode and when the day came, I felt like we were going to the principal's office. And we were going to be told why we did something wrong, but and then hearing the story, it's like, no, it was good, and I'm sad that this album isn't out for people to hear it. And I don't want to know that it's floating around or whatever, but all I can say is I wish this was more readily available.
Agreed. Yeah.
Because
totally
look how long it took you to find it.
Yeah.
In your own collection.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I'm really appreciative of the fact that I got to hear it and got to talk with him about it.
Same.
This is a really good collection of tracks, and
yeah. So
he's a great guy.
He is. God. Yeah.
He's been generous with us, but he's really nice.
So with music, I love music, of course. Music is super important to me, and I like the thought of music being the soundtrack to life, right? And then we talked about like memories and experiences that people have listening to music, and even with Aaron, we were talking about, the guitars and all the components and the voices are one thing, but the songs are so much bigger than that. And I listen to songs for different reasons. I have the car driving songs, the workout songs, the chill songs, the songs when I need to mellow out. And the thing I like about Steven Roback's songs, to me, it's connection. Like, I feel connected when I hear his voice, when I hear his songs, and it makes me happy to be alive. I just feel connected. I don't know how else to say it. I just feel connected to another person. And I don't have that. I have thousands of albums and CDs, and there are those few where it's all about a connection, and that's the one thing that I always get with his songs. It's feeling connected.
And imagine that, Jeff. This is what we're all striving for in life, right? It's to create these meaningful connections with people. And how amazing is it that we can feel a connection with someone through their music, someone that doesn't stand in front of us, but connects with us in it through a completely elevated level. I think that's a beautiful thing. And the fact that he gives that to us and shares it readily.
Yeah. It's a gift.
These Rain Parade guys, man, they're a cool bunch.
Yes, indeed.
Jeff, how do we end this?
Well,
that was really a nice conversation.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed that. So we've talked about that we've talked to, that we love talking to the Rain Parade guys, and we've talked to a few of them, right? We've talked to a few of the 3 o'clock guys, and all of the current Dream Syndicate bands. But when it comes to Bangles, we've only talked to one person so far in the Bangles, Annette, which, to be honest, was the person that I wanted to talk to the most from the Bangles. Was
a fascinating, amazing conversation.
Yeah, so on our next episode, there may be a conversation with one of the other members from the Bangles. So let's hope that happens. We're lining something up, and next week you may be hearing us conversing with a Bengal.
Fingers crossed, folks.
Yes. All right, so I think that's how we end it.
All right, gente, algo be out.
Groove on, Paisley people.
sky.